I guess maybe I'll just, I don't know, jump into this video. I'm not really sure where to go with this. So obviously the news has been pretty tragic here recently, and I don't want to delve into politics. That's absolutely not what I want to do. Although I can almost guarantee you anybody who opposes this idea is going to call it a political video. It's not a political video. This is just how humans are. And if you want to tie it into politics, there are two types of people, some more in the middle, some more out in the extremes, but there are two types of people. And that really identifies what political party they're going to be in. So I got a story about a guy that I knew, that I was friends with, but politically we agreed on absolutely nothing. So his name was Willie. Now, I met Willie. I ran my own company, a consulting firm, and I had to go to companies to get them ready to do audits. It was I don't want to get into what all I did, but I go every 3 months, and I would check their systems to make sure everything was in compliance to the way they were supposed to be. And the companies would pay me to do this. And I did this for 10 years. I was pretty successful. Of course, there was some hardships. In 2003, the economy dropped. And the reason I found Willie, I'll explain what Willie does in a minute, was I knew this other guy. His name was Keith, and he got cancer. And so when Keith died, I had to find another person to do inspections. Audits is what they call it. But anyway, I would go up there every 3 months, go up there, check their system. Then once a year, an auditor would have to come from a certified company. You may have heard of Underwriters Laboratory. That is one of the companies. It's probably the most famous, but they do more than just these audits. But that's one of the things this Underwriters Laboratory does, is audit companies in compliance to quality systems and different things. So I would try to find a company that I could work well with. And so I told you about Keith. Keith was a great guy, very friendly, helped me out a lot, trying to get business for my company, and we would work together. And well, he got cancer, I don't know, probably 2007, 2000, I don't know, somewhere around there maybe. So of course he passed away, and it was pretty devastating. I mean, it really affected my business, but I immediately went out and searched for a different company, because I tried to stick with the company that Keith was with. I'm sorry, I keep calling him Keith. His name was Ken. Sorry. So anyway, Ken, wow, long time ago. So Ken worked for a company that would come around, do these audits like Underwriters Laboratory. So I tried to work with another guy named Bob. And the reason I worked with him was he was from the state of Missouri, so it was kind of convenient because we were both Missourian. But he didn't work out at all. I mean, just not at all. He wasn't professional. He brought his family one time to an audit. And so what these guys would do, oh, I told you what they do, like Underwriters Laboratory, they come and doing these inspections, or audits is what they were called. So I had to get rid of him, and I had to find somebody else. Well, I ended up going with a different company. A little bit more complicated than I want to get into, but there were different standards that I would help companies to. Some standards were automotive related, some standards were laboratory related, and some standards were just regular companies that just produced a product. Well, Ken could only do companies that could just produce a product, but I needed someone that could audit not only those companies, but work with the automotive industry. And I found this guy named Willie. Now, that was not his real name, that was his nickname. It was his American name, as he would call it, Willie. It was like Willie Brokrus or something. It was a crazy name. But he was from Germany and had a really deep German accent. And he was a typical German, blonde, blue eyes. I mean, he was German. And he moved to the United States. He when I met him, he hadn't had his citizenship yet. Him and his wife moved to the United States, but it took him a long time. And they said, it's not that we can't do it, we just haven't. But during the time that I knew Willie, he did get his citizenship, and he lived in Chicago. Now, being that I'm from Missouri, in the middle of the country, in the middle of the state, and he's from Chicago, you can kind of understand that we had different ideas about things. But Willie was a great guy. I really enjoyed his company. He was funny. He had body odor really bad because he didn't use deodorant. I mean, he was always shaved. But boy, he was just from Europe, I guess. I mean, that's really not part of this conversation. But he just had a different line of thinking when it came to politics. I remember one time we were talking about Apple. I think it was Apple. And at the time, we were under some terrorist threats, and an Apple store had rejected a particular race from their store. I'm not trying to be political or anything. And he was very upset about that. And I said, well, here in the United States, again, we tried not to argue a lot. I said, but here in the United States, a company can kick a customer out for any reason. Absolutely any reason. They don't have to have a reason. And just say, we don't want you in here. And when he heard that, he was like, yeah, you're right. But he was very upset until he got a different perspective from a guy who lived in Middle Missouri. Well, obviously, when it came to firearms, he and I were horribly opposed. About this time that I met him, I was somewhere within a few years of getting my conceal and carry. Missouri was really struggling to pass laws that we could conceal and carry, but they did. And I think I got my conceal and carry license like in 2010, somewhere around there. So let's say I met him in 2007. So within a few years, I was collecting firearms, and I was really trying to get the state of Missouri to start passing conceal and carry laws and different things. And I was really into it back then. I was, sending out letters and those kind of things. And of course, we always got into conversations about firearms. Now, Willie said when he came to America, of course, the first thing he had to try was shoot a gun. So I think he shot a rifle. And he didn't like it. He just didn't like it. But being from Chicago, he was pretty anti-gun. I guess being from Germany, he was pretty anti-gun. And just didn't see the point of it. Didn't see, if you have a police force, all the typical arguments that they come up with. If you have a police force, why do you need a gun? And of course, my whole argument always was seconds count. The police are only minutes away. But, we never argued. He was a great guy. I think we considered each other friends. I remember one time we went to Applebee's. His wife and him, and my wife and me went to Applebee's, had a great time. They told us about all the different countries they'd been to. I think she was from like Iran or Iraq or someplace. Anyway, again, just great people. When you look at them as a person and not as an idea, they were just wonderful people. And, I was pretty political back then because I was really trying to advance the firearm movement that was happening here in Missouri. So for us not to get in a lot of political debates, it was pretty good. And I considered him a friend. I think he considered me a friend. And we helped each other grow in the industry that we were in, learning new things or different ideas about how to audit companies and what audits meant. And just so we were at a company. It's actually the first company I ever met Willie in. Now, of course, like I said, Willie had to come out each year. It was the first company I ever met Willie in, and Willie failed that company. It was pretty devastating, but that is why I used him, because it was a reasonable finding. What he did was reasonable. The company was not complying with the requirements, and I had no way of forcing them to do it. They refused to do it based on my suggestions. So he gave them a finding, and I even think it was a major finding, or it might have been a major finding, which means they took their cert away. So I started using them at this point, Well, anyway, let's say it was a year or two later, and we are back at the company. Me, Willie, and the production manager of the organization are sitting in a room, and Willie is auditing the company, and I'm trying to answer the questions. The production manager is trying to answer questions. Well, me and the production manager got in a debate about, remember, they had a real hard time complying with the requirements. Anyway, we got in a debate about something. I can't remember what it was, but it was about the company, obviously, and it was starting to get pretty heated. So the production manager was, of course, we weren't cussing. It was still professional, but it was a heated debate, and you could see that I guess Willie could see, I should say, that I was getting angry, and the production manager was getting angry with one another. Well, this is in Iowa. Right smack dab in Iowa, Kellogg, Iowa. You look down Iowa 80, I bet it's right in the middle of Iowa. Maybe. Maybe not. But anyway, it was close to Des Moines, probably on the, east side of Des Moines. And, the production manager also carried firearms. So I had my firearm because I was conceal and carry, and he had his firearm, conceal and carry. And Willie, standing here looking at us arguing with each other, knew that we both carried firearms, or at least that we were probably carrying firearms, because we were both on one side of the thinking of firearms, and Willie was on the other side. And he stops the conversation. Hey, wait a minute, guys. Are you guys armed? Yeah. I mean, both of us, we went right back to talking to Willie, I guess in normal levels of conversation. And yeah. He says, I don't know how you guys do it. I just don't know how you guys do it. If I was that mad at someone and I had a firearm on me, I was shooting. And from that point on, I understood the other side's emotional makeup. So when I look at myself, my first reaction isn't to go out and shoot somebody or hurt somebody or cause any type of harm to somebody. That's not my first reaction. And as a individual who analyzes himself on a regular basis, understands his level of maturity and responsibility, at first it took me back. What do you mean? How could you do that? I mean, you get mad at somebody and you immediately want, what if it was your wife? She's a lovely lady. I love her to death. She's just, and you would shoot your wife if you got mad at her? So I didn't understand it. I mean, I don't know if I could ever get that mad, where I would lose track of, first of all, shooting someone for no reason at all other than you were mad would get you thrown in jail. I have enough self-control to think, I don't want to go to jail, so I'm not going to shoot someone. But the mindset is from him, Willie, was I would shoot someone, losing all control of his, just losing control, I guess, of his emotional state and reacting to his emotions. Whereas I guess the production manager and me were just being logical. We were just logical individuals that had a disagreement. And we were trying to convince each other that they, one person or the other is wrong. So when I look at what's going on in the world right now, and we see the violence against, just against, you know what's going on. I don't have to explain it. It's easy for me to understand where the violence is coming from. It's easy for me to understand that they have no control. They're angry. They've been convinced that we're evil and that we have to be eliminated. People who think like me have to be eliminated. They haven't even had a conversation with the other side, like me and Willie. I would imagine Willie has learned enough from me to think, they're not bad. They're easy to get along with. So I'm not going to go around shooting them all up just because I disagree with them. So there are a lot of people out there who are not understanding what this is all about. So the only way the people who can't control themselves are able to control themselves is make the government control them. So we have to have gun control. take guns off the streets, take guns out of homes, because we don't have the self-control to do it ourselves. And that's where the fight comes in. When you have one side saying, well, I have self-control. I don't need some government to tell me to be in control of my emotions. And you have the other side with saying, well, I'm completely out of control. I need somebody to stop me when I get ready to do something stupid. And until you are able to understand that, there's going to be a huge conflict between the two sides. I'm not sure how to resolve it. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to resolve it. I know that Willie and I were able to resolve it because we just looked at each other as people, not as an idea or an emotional response. I really miss Willie. I enjoyed our conversations. So anyway, I hope that kind of gives you my perspective on what's going on in the world. So if you'll click this up next box, take the video over to my other channel. Really appreciate it. Go check it out. So hope I can inspire you to have some control, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.